Very good evening, friends. Meeting after a big gap for philosophy session. The last chapter from fourth year syllabus, that is the last chapter from the Robert's philosophy also, that is modern medication and the homeopathic principles. That we're going to start in today's session. It is the correlationship between the what homeopathy is and how these allopathic medicines, pharmacopoeias, how they are related with the homeopathy. What is the difference? How a primary action develops with the help of all those medicines and how homeopathy reacts with that. So the correlation between these two things he tried to explain over there, and we have to learn a lot in this chapter regarding this. Let us open your book, chapter number 35, the modern medication and the homeopathic principles. Like all principles, those of homeopathy have been discovered and evolved through the crucible of time, experimentation, and increasing enlightenment. Like all principles too, they stand whether or not they have the ascription of those who profess to be their adherents. They are the principles that, to those who understand and seek to apply them, and to those who benefit from their application, stand preeminently unchangeable in spite of all changes in the therapeutic passions. To principles, there is no time element. Natural law knows no ancient, no modern. Time offers only the greater opportunity for the examination of the results of applied principles and the action of natural laws, and evolution knows not the meaning of the passion. So to start with the chapter, he has explained that there are many laws on the basis of which, or many principles on the basis of which homeopathy has evolved. When you think about the principles, they are evolved from the facts. Facts were there. Principles were there. No one was knowing the principle behind that. It was after the repeated experimentation and finding the truth, one reaches to the level of finding it out, the principle out of them, out of the facts. So things were happening as before. Only thing is that we are now known that why a cinchona bark acts. Because of the principles, we know that it is the law, because of law of similars, because of which the cinchona bark cures the quinine, cures the malaria. It is not because of the bitter taste, which was the previous false understanding. So, laws or principles ultimately enhances your knowledge regarding the things. And this is what happens because of the principle. Our system is totally based upon seven cardinal principles: the law of similars, law of simplex, law of minimum dose, the doctrine of vital force, the doctrine of drug proving, doctrine of drug dynamization, and last, the doctrine of chronic diseases. These are seven basic pillars on the basis of which our science has evolved, and these are the laws which have evolved out of the facts only. It is not something which comes in the Hahnemann's mind all of a sudden. And this is what the laws and principles are there. The word modern must always be used in comparative sense. This is never appreciated more keenly than when considered in the light of medical practice and those elements of the practice of today that have survived the crucible of time have rightly become recognized as principles of art. Nowadays, there is a fashion to use the word modern medicine. When you question modern, what is modern? He puts one question that this word modern is used. Is there any principle? Is there anything on the basis of which this modern medicine is evolving? There are only opinions. There are only thoughts. There are only conjectures. There are only speculations. but there is no definite law on the basis of which you are going to apply your principle. So this is the basic difference between two sciences. Medicine, while always dealing with the ills of mankind, has passed through a continuous barrage of modern discoveries. Greater possibilities of investigation of functions of the body have increased our knowledge of life process and circumstances of living, and this increase in knowledge has been inestimable value in dealing with the human suffering. But therapeutics, as demonstrated by modern medicine, is still in the state similar to that of the past, in that the discovery and or the development of the day is seeming answer to almost all the therapeutic problems. This is another way of saying that in spite of increased knowledge of mechanisms of the body, no guiding principles have been discovered by dominant school of medicine that are sure and certain indications in the field of therapeutics. That means there is no test but that of experience of its but that means there is no test but that of experience for any therapeutic agent, and modern medicine, despite the period of its discovery, still finds itself on a basis of empiricism rather than that the true science. They are called themselves as modern medicine, modern science. There are many investigations have came out in order to understand the human mechanism, the inner mechanism of the human body. Earlier, whenever the rheumatism was diagnosed, there was only one test, that is RA test. Since long time, people were performing this RA test. Now, there are n number of tests in order to find it out a diagnosis of rheumatism. And still, what is the change happened at the therapeutic value after doing all those tests? Previously, they used to give anti-inflammatory. Today also, they used to give the anti-inflammatory. Previously, they used to give another molecule. Nowadays, they give accept different molecule. Only thing is that the molecule has changed, but there is no specific principles evolved in order to treat such a disorder. Till today, the things are same. If steroids are not working, another thing is that use the non-steroidal drugs. Question remains unanswered whether there is a cure, whether they are able to cure the completely those patients. Is it possible to cure rheumatoid arthritis? Is it possible to cure the asthma? Is it possible to cure any specific disorder, chronic disorder? No. Line of treatment remains to be the similar as before, even though n number of investigations have developed. And on the basis of those investigations, they call themselves modern without having any specific definite principles with which they can approach the patients. Only things they are changing from one molecule to another, because for first molecule there is a resistance, then next they comes out with second, the second again gets the resistance, that then they comes out with third, because things are happening like that, and they are ever changing. And that's why he puts question whether you call such a medicine as a modern medicine, where there is no specific principle of applying the therapeutic measures. Consider the discovery of synthetic group of drugs. There has been a continuous process of these substances over a period of years. Aspirin, luminol, the phenols, the sulfonamide, the vitamins, and numerous others. Each discovery has held as a modern development of science for conquering or elevation of the ills of the mankind. Sober investigations of the claims of these therapeutic measures astounds us with the conviction that in almost every instance, the target at which these measures are aimed is single symptom or at most small group of symptoms, and not at the patient himself. So there are a number of new molecules have developed. There were first they used to use aspirin for the patients of rheumatoid arthritis. Then there was a paracetamol which came out. Then there was a ibuprofen which came out into existence. After ibuprofen, they started with piroxicam. Then there happens to be diclofenac. Then there happens diclofenac sodium, then diclofenac potassium. In such a manner, now they reach to the another molecule, which is called as something ethoxycab or like that. There are n number of new molecules with which they are coming. And that, what do that do? Whether that cures the patient of rheumatoid arthritis, whether with that remedy is it possible to approach the holistically to the patient? No, it is applicable only for the purpose of one symptom, that is pain. And that is the aim of the whole modern medicine. They never deals with the human being. They deals with the only one or two symptoms of the patient with the help of specific symptomatic remedy. In most of the cases, the discovery of such a therapeutic agent has been met with loud acclaim and ardent advertising. Its use became widespread very shortly. And there is one habit. They came out, yes, we got cure for such and such thing, and they published that with lot of advertisement. And later on, they finds it out that this is just a flu. Aspirin was came into existence for the treatment of rheumatism as a pain remedy. And then they found that people were vomiting blood. There was hematemesis. Then they worked out what is wrong with the patient. And then they found that because of aspirin, there was platelet disintegration. And because of which bleeding is there. Then they thought, if it is so, it is better to the patients of paralysis where there is thrombus formation. They started applying the aspirin on side effect for such types of patients. And what do they do? Nowadays, it's a habit using aspirin to every patient after 35 years of age. Once he is labeled, once a while he got the hypertension, and they starts with aspirin and they starts with antihypertensive, and that aspirin goes lifelong. Is it a right therapy? Someone thought that it might dissolve the thrombus, and they are started using with a big advertisement. So this is not a therapeutic principle behind that. Soon, the sincere students of science perceived through their laboratory research and from clinical observations that there was another phase to the seeming curative action of the substance that was not without danger to the patient. And therefore, warnings were sent to that there should not be too free use of the substance except under the most careful observation. Then they started getting their effects on the body. There were many remedies came out. Sulfanilamide was used, and many patients started developing the Steven Johnson syndrome. There was one drug which came into in 1965 or 66, around that period, that is called as thalidomide. It was famous for the morning sickness, and whole next generation developed a congenital deformities, and the drug was withdrawn from the market. There are n number of drugs withdrawn from the market. Even nimesulide is also taken out in many countries because it has a direct effect on the heart. So then they have started using one sentence that it should be used under the supervised medical practitioner. In the meantime, the fashion of use had spread, especially among those who always seek easy road in therapeutics, the uninstructed and those who are addicted to self-dosing with corresponding amount of further damage to the health. In India, the maximum practice is done by the medical shops or pharmacists. They do a more job of doing a practice than a doctor. We get everything on the counter. We get medicine for fever, we get medicines for the headache, we get medicine for diarrhea, we get medicine for vomiting in your medical store. They don't know what it will going to cause, or even though they know, there is only one thought in mind: business. That's all. This is the strategy. Even during COVID period, these peoples have done one pack and that gives, yes, this you follow and take it and you will be cured of corona. They were corona warriors. Everything is available in India without medical practitioners' prescription. No one knows how much damage it has produced and how much damage it is developing. Peoples are habitual to taking the steroids. They goes to the medical stores, ask, yes, give me a medicine for cough and cold, and medical practitioners gives the betnelline, betnesol, prednisolone, visolone, along with one anti-allergic, and they gets it and they takes and they feels better and they feels that doctor have not given me medicine which cured me, but that medical pharmacist knows everything and he has given me medicine and I am cured. And they get the habit of taking those medicines for years together and damages their kidney, damages their hip joints. They don't know what is happening because of that. But this is going on in India. If such a dangerous thing is happening, then mm, how can the illiterate people knows that this much effect is there and this much hazardous effects develops because of those medicines? Nowadays, I am observing since last 5 years in the public, there were some, on the name of Ayurveda, some packets are served for those who are suffering from arthritis. And that contains fine powder. Even I have seen in with my patient who asked me that there was one fellow who used to bring the medicine from Dhavalgiri hill, and that is Ayurvedic, and that cures the rheumatism and asthma. So they went over there, he met, and he said that I will send you parcel by post. You just give me a 5,000 rupees. They received parcel after 8 days. The lady who was having asthma have consumed first powder. After consuming first powder, she felt absolutely better. Then in the evening again she consumed, and next day she was there with me and said, Doctor, please don't laugh with me, but I had one query. I asked, what's your query? She said, this is the powder which I got from the Olgiri Parvat. And I feel when I have done one experiment, I have taken all those fine particles out of that black particles. And when I chewed those particles, it has a typical taste of betnesol tablet because years together I have consumed that. So we send that in the Glaxo laboratory for checking what it contains. And it contains nearly about, in one packet, there were 6 tablets of betnesol. They were churned. Why not she will going to feel better after first dose if there are 6 betnesol tablets in one packet? No one knows what is happening around us. And these sachets or powders are circulated everywhere. There are many people who used to do all those things. So he is explaining over there that this such type of damage is very much because of self-dosing, because people are addicted to those, and corresponding amount of further damage to the health. This is very, very, very important thing one must do. So here he is explaining what are the hazardous effects of those medicines and why those develops. So it's better on this note, we'll stop today. Tomorrow we'll continue with the rest of the things and we'll understand all the effects of those medicines called to be a modern medicine. So thank you being there. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.